Rem Pitlick recorded his first 3 NHL goals in pretty sweet fashion. Turns out Ryan Hartman can play with anybody. Plus, we look ahead to a big week for the Minnesota Wild, all coming up on today's episode of Locked on Wild.
You're Locked on Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked on Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day. And just as a reminder, we are free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's episode of Locked on Wild, we are joined by Alex Micheletti to recap the weekend for the Wild, a successful game for Rem Pitlick, as well as the fact that it doesn't matter who Ryan Hartman plays with, he makes them better. We also preview what is going to be a very key week for the Wilds coming up. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked on Wild, veteran Minnesota sports content producer with over a decade's worth of experience covering our favorite Minnesota sports teams. And as mentioned, happy to bring Alex Micheletti in for a Micheletti Monday, a successful weekend, mostly for Minnesota sports. And so, Alex, happy to have you back. How are things going?
Good, yeah. It was a fun weekend in Minnesota sports, and good to see the Vikings finally win. So that's always makes the Sunday better. Yeah, fun weekend of college hockey and NHL hockey. A lot of exciting games all weekend. So a lot of fun watching.
100%. Now, I didn't talk about it a lot because we had a special guest last week on Friday. We had Will Bitton of the Iowa Wild on, so didn't talk about the Vegas Golden Knights game a ton. And so I'm only going to mention it just for the fact that it seems like it's a little easier to explain because of what we saw on Saturday. And, my opinion is it just looked like the Wild really didn't have much in the tank for that Vegas game. And, they make it close 3-2, but definitely bounced back against the Kraken on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how good Vegas can be when they start to get it healthy. I mean, they crushed Vancouver last night. They scored 7 goals. So I mean, that team, once they get healthy, they're going to be really tough to beat. But yeah, they made a nice push. And this Minnesota team is so much different. They're never out of it, and so it was nice to see them make a push. But yeah, great bounce back versus Seattle again. Just scoring from the depth scorers. The guy gets his first 3 goals in the NHL, natural hat trick, and Rem Pitlick, and coming off COVID too. And so I put out a tweet. I said, "What a journey it's been for Rem to get waived by Nashville, and then to get picked up by your hometown team, and all the pressure that brings. And then you go out to Seattle and get COVID and have to travel back with just him and Nats, and then now you come back out to Seattle and get a hat trick in kind of a hostile environment, because that place can get bumping when it's loud."
Yeah. Was the Seattle game, in your opinion, was that the most complete game that we've seen from the Wild so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was rocking. I mean, it was weird not having a power play until the last minute of the game. So that kind of made the third period a little scary, because Seattle was making a big time push, and Cam made some amazing saves once again. He kept the team in it late there, and so yeah, what more can you say about Cam Talbot? Just an amazing game for Cam. And all the lines are rolling. All the deep pairings look great too. Matt Dumba had a bounce back game after he kind of took it on himself that he said he had a really bad game against Vegas, and so yeah, good bounce back for Matt.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Matt Dumba, because I did want to key in on that a little bit. And I'm actually going to find the quote itself, because I thought that was really refreshing for Dumba to, I don't think there's another player on this Wild roster now that Zach Parise and Ryan Suter are gone that gets just as much like negative attention as Matt Dumba does. And people point to the turnovers a lot, which yes, he does have his fair share of turnovers, but at the same time, he's picked up his offense this year and is really playing at a much better level. And the quote, let's see if I can find it here, and I just did. Perfect. The quote by Dumba after that second period turnover against the Golden Knights said, and I quote, "I just feel like I let the boys down tonight. Just a bleeping bad play. Bad play. It comes down to one play." And then said he's got to play better, and that starts in Seattle. Jared Spurgeon did come to his defense and says that that kind of thing happens to everybody. You have plays that come at bad times and get put under the magnifying glass. But with Dumba being now one of the alternate captains, I was really impressed with that and thought that was really refreshing to see a guy kind of own up to it, as opposed to trying to make excuses, things along that line. And props to Dumba for stepping up and owning up to it.
Yeah, that's what leadership is all about. Owning your mistakes and just getting over it fast, because this is a long season and you can't let one mistake put you really down in the dumps. You just gotta go to the next game and pretend like it never happened, and learn from it. And you can't sit Matt Dumba. You just you would never scratch him. You got to live with how he plays, because he brings so much to the back end there with not only his offense, but he does a great job blocking shots too, and just getting the puck out. He's an impressive player. He just you gotta live with the mistakes sometimes. He's he's a high risk defender sometimes, and I'd take him on the team any day of the week for sure.
Oh, absolutely. He's just such a huge key to this team. He doesn't get enough credit for the good things that he does offensively, especially.
Mhm.
And he's just one of those guys that you just got to have.
Glue
Um,
guy.
exactly, a very big glue guy. Speaking of glue guys, we are going to move to talking about a guy who he did it again. The Wild put him in a different line combination, had him go back into the center spot in the lineup, and he delivered. We're going to talk a little bit about Ryan Hartman next here on Locked on Wild. But first, does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all of that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part? There is no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Continuing today's episode of Locked on Wild, and again, thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day. A Micheletti Monday here on Locked on Wild. Alex Micheletti is with us, and Alex, we saw a little bit of a different line combo with Jordan Greenway, who we'll talk about in a little bit. Ryan Hartman and Rem Pitlick. So Ryan Hartman now, I think, has been on every line on this team. And here's what Hartman did in the game against the Kraken. He had 3 assists, had 2 shots, a hit, a takeaway. He played 17 minutes and played a minute 49 on the penalty kill. Also went 9 face-off wins, 7 face-off losses. I'm running out of things to say about what Hartman has done so far this year. He just continues to far and away be like the centerpiece of this team and is just seemingly going from wing to center. And he did it again on Saturday, set up Rem Pitlick on his hat trick, and just looked great doing it again.
I mean, incredible. I mean, the second one too, where he made the big hit and let Rem go in and score. That was awesome. Dean joked that he said he made a pretty good audition to play center. So yeah, I mean, he fits in so well with this team. He doesn't care who he plays with. He can play on the first line or the fourth line. He'll go out and play the same way. He's so much fun to watch. He brings a little of that grit every time he's out there. And everybody seems to love playing with him. Rem in his interview, he shouted him out. He said Hartsey, was incredible. He assisted on all 3 of his goals. And so, I mean, what more can you say about the guy? Just a huge part of this team, and he took a team-friendly deal to come back. And so, what more can you say about the guy?
No, he's been just an unbelievable part of this team. And you talked about the team-friendly deal that he signs. I think that's just unbelievable. The story behind it, and that he finally got sick of just moving around and just wanted to stay, and so he ended up signing to stay with the Wild, and obviously it's worked out well.
Worked out.
Yeah, it's worked out pretty darn well for both sides. I know for a fact that the Wild will look on the back end of this deal to try to do him a solid for helping the team out in this function, but it could not be going better for either side. And he's made some of these line changes just so seamless by being able to just play every single spot, and play with basically everybody on the team. I think he has been on the same line as every player on the team at some point this year, which
Yeah,
is just insane.
versatile. Yeah.
Very versatile. And we may see another new line combo come Tuesday as the Wild host the San Jose Sharks. Nice little mini 2-game homestand. Jordan Greenway has come back after missing a couple of games. He played against Vegas, and he now played against the Seattle Kraken, which meant that Victor Rask was the healthy scratch. And with Rem Pitlick just having gotten a hat trick, can't sit him anytime soon. Are we set to see Jordan Greenway and Victor Rask alternate time and try to figure out which one of those guys offers the best to this lineup?
Could be. I mean, I am I'm a big time critic on Jordan Greenway, but he at least looked a little bit better against Seattle. But he's still not doing much out there. He took a dumb penalty, but he at least looked a little bit better. And yeah, we'll see. The only thing when you play Rask is then he's so slow out there. So it's like you want to risk having him out there. He does have an offensive touch, so, but you need the speed in the lineup, and at least Jordan Greenway gives a physical presence out there.
Yeah.
So Greenway's more suited for a fourth line role, but yeah, we'll see. You can't pull Pitlick out, of course, after what he did.
No, you can't. The final thing that I wanted to talk about from Saturday's game before we look ahead at a key week coming up for the Minnesota Wild with 3 games. Then they play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about those games. Cam Talbot, 2 goals allowed, and the second goal came very late. The Wild had just about taken care of business, but then the Kraken get their second goal with something like 2 minutes left to play. one of the better games, I think, for Talbot. He looked really good, and for all the worry maybe early about how he has played and how the goaltending in general has looked, it seems like the Wild have kind of shored that up a little bit here recently.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, you can't really fault him for the Vegas game either. So, yeah, I mean, like we've talked about, the goaltending needs to be solid in this division. And if they want to go far in the playoffs, they're going to need Cam healthy and locked in. And he's been that way early. And with this team, with the scoring that they're putting out and the depth, I mean, it makes a little things a little easier for the goaltenders for sure, because they know that the offense is going to produce a little bit to help them, like it did against Seattle, and nice to get it up to that huge lead, and makes Cam relax a little bit, because in that third period, Seattle really gave a huge push, and there could have been a lot more goals. I think Jared Spurgeon saved one too when he like flew across the ice and was on his knees, and he blocked one, and it was just chaos in front of the net. And Seattle, they have the worst power play in the NHL, but anytime you get a power play late in the third period like that, it causes a ruckus. And so, Cam kept cool and collective, and they held on for a much needed 2 points to wrap up that road trip.
Shout out to Nico Sturm for the empty netter, the fourth goal of the game for the Wild. And as mentioned, Ryan Hartman, 3 assists. Marcus Foligno had an assist. Alex Goligoski had an assist. And the Wild now 10-4 on the season. We will take a look coming up at what the Wild have in store for this week. A couple of games at home before a big 2-game swing in the state of Florida. That is coming up here on Locked On Wild. But first, Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and that means your favorite sweets are going to be filling up the dinner table. All sorts of pies, cookies, ice cream, cake, you name it. The holiday season is full of unlimited amounts of treats, and that means calories. But there is a better way to get those great tasting treats without all the calories, and it's Built Bar. Take a look at this. One slice of pie, your favorite slice of pie, has upwards of 300 calories on the low end. Most Built Bars contain only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar and are packed with plenty of protein. Low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. There is nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday either. So make sure to mark your calendar, because Black Friday will have a huge event with all sorts of surprises. So head to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off of your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Just as a reminder, we are free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. Seth Topol hanging out with Alex Micheletti on a Micheletti Monday, and we've got a busy week coming up for the Minnesota Wild. So let's take a look at the games that we have on the schedule. We've got Tuesday at home against the Sharks, Thursday at home against Dallas, and then Saturday, Sunday at Florida, at Tampa Bay. So Alex, let's just go game by game. Starting with the San Jose Sharks. This is not last year's Sharks team. They are playing better, but a team, especially at home, got to get this little 4-game swing started off in the right way.
Yeah, the games against the Sharks always seem to be high scoring, and Brett Burns, the guy doesn't age. He's off to an amazing start. So that's one guy that we're going to have to be worried about. He always produces. He had an amazing goal last year. I remember where he like dangled through everybody. He went top shelf. And Tomas Hertl, another Wild killer, and Logan Couture. So I mean, some of their high enders are still playing well. We don't have to worry about Evander Kane, so that's good. And so their goaltending has been a little bit better too with Aiden Hill, who they got from Arizona. Arizona could use Aiden Hill right now. So yeah, so yeah, that should be another high scoring game, I think. And yeah, it should be fun. A lot of offense coming for sure, and the boys will have to be ready.
And a team that we're familiar with, but then we go from there to a team that we are not as familiar with as we have been in the past. That, of course, being the Dallas Stars, and Dallas is having just a preposterously weird season. They have really not gotten any sort of offense whatsoever. They have the corpse of Brayton Holtby and Anton Khudobin in net, and that has had mixed results to say the least. But they've got Tyler Seguin and Joe Pavelski and Luke Glanderning, who are the only players that they have that have 4 goals or more. Like they are not scoring at all. They've got 31 goals in 13 games, and so this is one where you got to try to keep that Dallas offense in check. And I'm using quotes because it doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard of a task. And then you get a couple past the goalies and you're home free after that.
Yeah, they just last night just got their first regulation win against Philadelphia, who was coming off a back-to-back, so that really helped. And they had Martin Jones, so they didn't have to deal with Carter Hart. So yeah, really slow starts for their second line. Well, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, and sometimes it's Alexander Radulov. They've been switching up their lines, but yeah, their captain Jamie Benn hasn't done much, and their their depth guys, like I mentioned, Radulov and Gurianov, and they're not scoring like they should be,
No.
because they got some guys that can score. Pavelski's been kind of off to a slow start. He's getting up there in age. He's I think 37 now, but yeah, tough. Their back end's really talented. Klingberg, Heiskanen, our old friend Ryan Suter, Essa Lindell. I mean, so they got some high end defensemen back there. So I think that this game should be relatively close, but their goaltending is horrendous. So you just never know. So but it should. Those are 2 wins that the Wild should win, and then the weekend's going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah. Of course, with looking at Ryan Suter's numbers, he's got a goal and 6 assists in 13 games. He's a -3, 10 penalty minutes. He's averaging just under 23 minutes of ice time. Of course, the one goal that he scored was a power play goal, because of course Dallas was going to put him on that top power play. Of course.
he somehow gets these coaches to say that he's still a power play guy. I don't know how he's pulling off the Houdini act, but yeah, it's they have a lot more talented defensemen out there that could be playing on the power play. That's for sure.
Boy, oh boy. We go from there to what is going to be, and this is going to be fascinating because as of right now, the Florida Panthers are on a 4-game losing streak, and 3 of them have been 1-goal losses. They also got waxed by the New Jersey Devils 7-3, and so I don't know if some of that stems from Joel Quenneville stepping aside, but you still have Alexander Barkov. You've got Jonathan Huberdeau. They've got Sam Reinhart too. This is a very, very good Panthers team, despite that 4-game skid. And not only do they have just a ton of offense, oh yeah, that's right, they've got Sergei Bobrovsky too, and Spencer Knight, which is a lethal goalie combo too.
Yeah, I mean they Barkov continues to go, relatively, doesn't get the hype as as much as Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, and Ovi, Sid. I think he's a top 5, top 10 player in this league, and he's an amazing. Does everything for the Florida Panthers, and another guy that we haven't mentioned, Aaron Ekblad on their DN. He's an incredible player. Anthony Duclair. I mean, so the names Patrick Hornquist, who's been in the league forever. So yeah, it's going to be tough, and with them coming off those losses, they have a little rest here. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough, whoever's in that. Borowski's has been hurt, so Knight's been playing a little bit more, but yeah, I think it should be a low scoring, intense game for sure, and so they're gonna have to come out ready to go for sure.
And you follow that up with the defending Stanley Cup champions 2 years in a row, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who after a slow start are now 7-3-3. And this is a team that does not have quite the firepower that they used to, being that they lost that third line with Yanni Gourde that was just so critical to them. But they still have Steven Stamkos, Alex Killorn, Victor Hedman, Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, Andre Palat, Mikhail Sergachev, Matthew Joseph, Ryan McDonough, Nikita Kucherov is injured. But the list goes on and on. They got Pat Maroon, Corey Perry.
The
Like
rat.
It's unbelievable the depth of talent that this Lightning team has, and that they are viewed nationally as like being way down. Like they're not. They're still not that bad.
Yeah, I mean it's a regular season too. Come playoff time, watch out for that team. Andre Vasilevsky still is the best goalie in the NHL.
Yep.
He's had kind of a slow start here, but that's a guy come playoff time that completely shuts everything down. So, and John Cooper is one of the best coaches in the NHL still. And so, yeah, they just continue to roll. Stamkos, he doesn't seem like he ages. Great on the power play. Alex Killorn is so underrated for that team. Same thing with Anthony Cirelli. He's a name that's always popped up with Wild fans. That would be, if we could get him here, that would be, fantastic. And then their back end still scares me. Victor Hedman's just Thor back there. He can do it all. Ryan McDonough does it all for them too. Sergachev is a great player. Eric Chernak is an underrated defenseman too, and so yeah, they just are an impressive team, top to bottom, and it's going to be another one where you're going to have to stay out of the box because their power play is again one of the best, and so it's going to be key to help out the Cam if they decide to go with them, or because I don't know what they'll do if they'll split with Capo, but I don't know how you would split. You might have to play Cam twice just because of how good those teams are.
I'd go. I'd probably go Talbot, Capo, Talbot, Talbot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably how I'd do it, and then
Right.
whatever they have next after that, which would be Wednesday. After the Tampa game on Sunday, they don't play again until Wednesday at New Jersey. So
Play Capo there.
yeah, I think that's what you do. I think you got to go Talbot against the 2 games the weekend, and I think a split in those 4 is probably like best case scenario. If they win those first 2, if they were to somehow manage a split between the weekend, I'd be ecstatic because those are going to be insanely tough games. But this Wild team, never out of it.
Yeah.
If they get a team on kind of an off night, maybe they go 4-0.
That would be impressive. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the weekend games are going to be the 2 toughest games of the year by far so far.
Yep.
So it'll be a real test against some Eastern Conference teams, and so yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch for sure.
Going to be a great week. Alex, thanks for the time. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Locked On Wild. So now that your first listen is done, make sure to check out Locked On NHL for all of the weekend's games and everything that happened throughout the last week in the NHL. Locked On NHL is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure also to follow Locked On Wild wherever you listen to podcasts and on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our YouTube channel is flying high as well. So make sure to get all of that great Minnesota Wild content, because if a puck drops in the state of Minnesota, Locked On Wild has you covered with new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.